From advertising to software as a service to data.
Across all of our programs and clients, we've seen a 55 to 65% open rate.
Getting brands authentically integrated into content performs better than TV advertising.
Typical lifespan of an article is about 24 to 36 hours.
If we're reaching out to the right person with the right message and a clear call to action, then it's just a matter of timing.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast, and I Hear Everything production. In this podcast, you'll hear the stories of world-class marketers that use technology to drive business results and achieve career success. We'll unearth the real-world experiences of some of the brightest minds in the marketing and technology space so you can learn the tools, tips, and tricks they've learned along the way. Now here's the host of the MarTech Podcast, Benjamin Shapiro.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Shapiro, and today we're going to discuss why CRM is the key to alleviating your business growth problems. Joining us is Lars Helgeson, who is the founder and CEO of GreenRope, which is a complete CRM, all-in-one sales, marketing, and operations management tool that helps consolidate, automate, and streamline your daily sales and marketing operations. And in addition to providing us with our guest today, GreenRope is a sponsor of the MarTech Podcast. And today, Lars and I are going to discuss why CRM is actually your growth strategy. All right, here's the first part of my conversation with Lars Helgeson, the founder and CEO of GreenRope. Lars, welcome to the MarTech Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I guess I should say welcome back. You were a guest of ours a couple of years ago, and now you're returning not only as a guest, but also as a member of our sponsorship program. So let me start off by saying welcome back and thank you for all your support of the MarTech Podcast.
Thank you. I think that one of the things that we see industry-wide is the need for sharing information between people. You could call it education, you could call it training, you could just call it an exchange of ideas. I think the whole industry, when it comes to marketing technology, is in such a state of flux, and there are so many different opinions and experiences and different ways to use technology depending on what industry you're in or what company size you're in, that I think it's really important to have exchanges like this so that we can share ideas and just be able to learn from each other.
I could not agree with you more. The cliche way to restate what you're saying is every company is now a media company. And that seems to be one of the tectonic shifts that's happening. We're all content producers. We're all distributing our content and try to build relationships because our customers are not coming inbound and going through a sales process. They're self-researching. They are deciding what products they want to use off-platform, getting referrals, consuming content, maybe not just listening. And that changes how we think about all of our marketing data. And it brings us to our topic today, why CRM is actually your growth strategy. We're having a hard time getting people to get to our website. Buying our performance marketing is getting more expensive. People are doing all their research off our sites on other platforms. So how are you thinking about using a CRM to not only capture the data for people coming to your platform, but to capture the experiences when they are off platform as well?
There's only so much you can do off platform. But I think in the sense that you can control when someone comes to something that you can control, you want to be able to provide the information to your team so that they do the best that they can. You want to set your salespeople up for success. And I think that a lot of that comes from having the right technology, providing the right information to the team members when they need it. And then having the automation tools that allow you to actually execute on whatever that strategy is. But so much of it comes down to understanding what's actually happening. Like you were saying, so many more research steps are being taken about our products and services before someone even reaches out to us now, because there are all these platforms that have evolved, whether they're review platforms or they're just informational platforms, or there are companies that for SEO, they build like these, top 10 products to do.
Listicles.
Yeah. All of those lead magnets, you have to figure out as a company where you're going to gather leads from. And then once you have control of that lead, then what do you do? And I think that's the challenge. And that's where CRM is so important, because it's the then what do you do? that makes the difference between converting at a 10% rate or at a 20% rate, which can have a massive impact on your ability to grow as a business.
I think about growth, and often we think about growth as filling the top of your funnel. How do I get more leads? How do I get more customers? How do I continue to build, grow, and have more relationships? Talk to me about what you think growth is and why is CRM an important component in that?
So on the surface, you would think that CRM is sort of a middle to bottom of the funnel kind of thing, because you're really managing the process of when someone gives you their information, whatever it is, whether they give you their phone number, their email, or they walk in your store, you have a physical interaction with them, or you meet them at a trade show, whatever. That's mid-funnel type of interaction. But the reality is, if you measure it right and you are able to track where these people are coming from, as a business, it helps you define where you should put your money at the top of the funnel. So if you're going for efficiency, and there's sort of like this old school macroeconomics terms where you can build a company for profit or you can build a company for revenue. And the two are often very different kinds of businesses. And you can think about the same when you're thinking about your sales and marketing strategy as well, where if you're building for revenue, you're trying to get as many leads in the door as you can. And you've got systems in place to try and convert those leads, but really it's top of funnel. When you start to really use technology and look at how CRM can be used, it's really about understanding how to build your company for profit, which is really what we want as business owners, right? I mean, we want to maximize profit. We want to get the most leads that hit the top of our funnel down to the bottom. So there will be various different ways that we calculate what that process looks like, what that funnel looks like, depending on what we're selling. Because sometimes we sell lots of different things as companies. Sometimes there's services that require a lot more hand-holding. And so what kind of leads do you want for those kinds of deals? Because they're going to be different than, say, something that is just like a product type of sale. So as a business owner, we have to take a step back and look at, what are we selling? Why are we selling it? And how do we connect the dots between what we learned from our CRM and what happens at the top of the funnel? So if we look at, take the example, you're selling some sort of a service that may be fairly complicated. You may bring leads in through social media. They may come in through advertising, through SEO, PPC. They may go, you may have trade shows. You've got all these different ways of bringing people in. And if you're selling a high touch type of a service, those leads will be different. They'll work differently with your team, and you'll have different success rates, different conversion rates, depending on where they come from. So you may be able to analyze and say, well, we know that if we do, say, a competitive ad campaign on Google, and we stack that up against a competitive ad campaign on Bing, or we target people that search for a keyword or a certain set of keywords that we think are highly correlated with people interested in our products or this particular service, we're going to have a variable number of cost per lead that comes in from each of those. But it's not enough to say the competitive ad campaign brought us 10 leads and the normal keyword campaign brought us in 5. Because you then have to look at the quality of those leads, what their conversion rates are, what their average conversion values are, to understand which one of those is actually where you should be spending more money. And you can't do that if you don't have a CRM.
I think that the classic funnel, or the thought of how your growth strategy works, is you're finding prospects. You're trying to convert your prospects into leads, and you're trying to convert your leads into customers. So when you're thinking about growth, I think most people think about, how do I get more prospects? How do I do more awareness building and advertising, get people into the top of the funnel, assuming that they will convert all the way down at an equal rate? And that's never the case. Not all leads are created equal. Not all marketing channels are created equal. So there's a couple different ways that we can think of growth. There is filling the top of your funnel, driving more bodies into your funnel. There is improving the conversion rate of your funnel. And lastly, there is basically building a sort of virtuous cycle. Instead of having it be a funnel, having it be a flywheel where your customers are not just coming in and paying you, but you're upselling them and they're generating virality and they're bringing in more customers. So I think the CRM plays a role potentially in all of those different stages. Walk me through CRM's role at top of funnel, CRM's role at converting prospects to leads to customers, and then that latter piece as well.
That's a good point that you bring up too. A funnel should never be thought of as a one and done thing, that once somebody goes through it and they're done and you have their money, they're gone. And the concept of the flywheel is one that's been around for a while. And I think it makes a lot of sense. It's very difficult to model that flywheel approach. In a lot of ways, in reality, you'll have people that go through funnels and then they jump to different funnels when they complete one. So modeling this can be a little challenging, but that's what marketing and sales professionals do. That's why we get paid the big bucks, right?
We get paid the what?
So the idea of providing the feedback for the top of the funnel, the CRM is really good in helping you figure out where you should put your money at the top of the funnel. Then once someone gets into the top of the funnel, the CRM is really important in getting those leads from marketing qualified to sales qualified. And that's where the lines of sales and marketing kind of blur, where the concept of a CRM and a marketing automation platform really are the same thing. You don't want to separate those. You don't want to have that data sitting in separate silos. Those two are so closely linked. You don't want to have them sitting in different worlds. So the CRM is a big part of that MQL to SQL process. And then once someone becomes sales qualified, depending on how much of an interaction you have between your business and the lead, you'll have a better idea of how much automation you want to use, what sort of content you want to provide, the sales enablement part of that process. So that if I'm a salesperson and I know that I have a lead that's at a particular point, and I know that most leads that get to this point can use this amount of information, then I have a way to automatically send that to them, make sure that they consumed it. If they didn't, have some automated step to make sure that they actually do consume it and set up automated follow-ups and all that. So you're looking much more on the older, in that stage, the original use of CRM. And then you have, following that, you have the customer service side of things, which customer service may be involved in the sales process if somebody has questions. So that's when you're dealing with things like live chat, phone calls, support ticketing system, or a case management system. All of those things are connected to that process. And then service becomes more important after the sale. So the relationship spans all of those processes, all of those steps. And we have to make sure that we use the right software to connect all those steps together. And that's where the CRM really comes into play with the entire process. So it's more of a feedback at the top of the funnel, and then more of an assistance tool for marketing and sales professionals for conversion, and then more of a user experience tool as you go farther down the sales process and then after the sale.
I think that most people traditionally think of a CRM as really being an LMS, a lead management service, right? It's something that gets your leads to the end of the funnel to buy something. In reality, it is customer relationship management. It is not only building, but managing the relationships with your customers, the people that are going to and are paying you, because you don't just want to get someone through the funnel for a one-off purchase. You want to continue to manage that. I think there's another important aspect, and you alluded to this at the beginning, and to me, this is really where CRM serves as a growth strategy. It is the repository of all of your customer data. And because you are able to look at your customers, you can mine for data and trends to start thinking of what that top of funnel marketing strategy should be. So what's the secret for getting your customer data out of your CRM and using it to influence your more top of funnel marketing strategies?
Yeah, it's all math. And this is where the power of having data and the right data and all of the data really helps. Because if you're only looking at a part of the picture, like say you're only looking at web analytics or you're only looking at email marketing, and you ignore the other things like how people are responding to print, or you ignore things like the customer service experiences and things like that, then you're making decisions based on impartial pictures of data. Once you're able to gather all that data, and as a team, and this is where teamwork is so important as a business, you have customer service people and a customer service team, you have a sales team, you have a marketing team, and the marketing team will do some of the automation, and then you've got other parts of marketing that'll be doing the pay-per-click and the SEO and all these different elements. And a lot of times, people that are using software in these various different functions of a business think only in terms of, I want to use the software that I love, that I want to use. And if anyone wants to be able to leverage that data, I can export it. The problem with that is that the exporting of that data and having it useful in a meaningful way in other departments is nearly impossible. In reality, it just doesn't happen. So you have to get everyone centralized on the same page using the same software. Once you can do that and you can pull together the entire experience, then you can do things like with predictive analytics, being able to say, I know that we've had 100 conversions of this particular product or service. And now we can go back and find out what those correlating factors are. What was it that made those people buy from us? You can look at the various different campaigns that brought them in. You can look at the various different elements that they went through. Did they hit a particular web page? Did they get a demo from a particular person? Was there a certain automated sequence of journeys or emails that they went through that correlated them to being more likely to convert? That's the information that you need to have to be able to make a data-driven decision, not one based on intuition or what feels right. You want to look at the data. And the only way to look at the data is if you have all of it and make sure that you can actually run the statistical analysis on what actually happens.
Incomplete data is a curse. You can look at your email marketing campaigns and say, look, this email had the best open rate and the best response rate and the best click-through rate, and therefore it is the campaign that we should be optimizing for and we should be serving to all of our customers. But if you don't understand how that given email campaign is driving people into and through the funnel and what the ROI is compared to some of your other marketing efforts, you're basically optimizing towards a false goal. It's important to not look at what is getting people close to the bottom of the funnel, but getting them through the funnel. And those are the marketing activities you want to use your CRM to replicate. And that to me is the secret of leveraging your CRM as a growth strategy. So that wraps up this episode of the MarTech Podcast. Thanks again to Lars Helgeson, the founder and CEO of GreenRope. Join us again tomorrow when Lars and I continue our conversation talking about CRM's role in customer experience. If you can't wait until our next episode and you'd like to learn more about Lars, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes. You can contact him on Twitter, where his handle is Lars Helgeson. That's LarsHelgeson. Or you could visit his company's website, which is greenrope.com, greenrope.com. Just one more link in our show notes I'd like to tell you about. If you didn't have a chance to take notes while you were listening to this podcast, head over to martechpod.com, where we have summaries of all of our episodes and contact information for our guests. You can also subscribe to our once-a-week newsletter, and you can even send us your topic suggestions or your marketing questions, which we'll answer live on our show. Of course, you can always reach out on social media. Our handle is martechpod, MarTechPod, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can contact me directly. My handle is Ben J. Shap, BenJShap. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, we're going to publish an episode every day this year. So hit the subscribe button in your podcast app and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.